Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for, if you can believe that, the month of September. I'm absolutely baffled by the fact that it's September. I don't really know what to do with that information, but nevertheless, here it is. So, let's just go straight into the cards. Could I have 3 cards for Leo, please? Recent past. We have the 9 of Swords in your recent past. Not concerned about that. Tell me about present energy for Leo, please. Thank you. King of Cups. And what's coming towards Leo in September, please? Thank you. 2 of Swords in reverse. I like that very much. We have the 8 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, followed by the Knight of Wands and the Hanged Man. Ooh, and the Tower. I've been feeling the Tower pretty hard recently. There hasn't been anything Tower-like occurring in my existence, and yet it seems to be looming around. And rather than being frightened of it, I'm actually sat here being like, I can bring it. I'm ready. And this is really interesting because it feels like there's been really quite a tremendous shift in Leo energy. Now, at this point, I'm not entirely sure whether that is just for me or whether it is for us as a collective, but it is my hope that by the end of this reading, we'll be able to work that out. So, write some clarifiers, and then we'll get on with this. Tell me about the 9 of Swords, please, Leo. Thank you. We have the Page of Wands in the reverse. And the 3 of Cups. Tell me about the King of Cups, please. Thank you. The Page of Pentacles. And the 10 of Cups. Tell me about the 2 of Swords in reverse, please. Knight of Wands. And the 6 of Pentacles. This is really interesting, Leo. That was the 3 of Pentacles that fell on the floor. I'm just going to put it back. This is really interesting because there isn't a single major arcana card on the table for you. And yet, there is something brewing. And I can feel it really strongly, particularly today. Like, yesterday I had the most bizarre afternoon. I may share it with you at some point, but it was bizarre. And this morning I got up and I was like, oh, hello, I'm here. And it was the first time in months I had felt like that. You know, my eyes weren't struggling to be awake. My mind wasn't struggling to be awake. I was just here. And that was interesting for me, for a start. But something's moving, something's shifting. Can you feel it, Leo? I feel like you probably can. But this reading seems entirely focused on what you do in the day-to-day. So that's what the minor arcana is, right? But underneath this 8 of Pentacles, we've got this Knight of Wands again. If you've got a Sagittarius in your midst who is important to you, then it feels like this is not just happening for you, this is also happening for them as well. But we've got the Hanged Man and we've got the Tower there. It's like the major arcana is kind of buried deep underneath what it is that you will do, and potentially either the energies or the people that will be involved in doing it too. We shall come back to this. So, in your recent past, we have the 9 of Swords. I don't think any of us Leos are particularly surprised to see that there, because the last 8 months has been, frankly, a complete mindfuck. Total mindfuck. At least until the point at which we realised why we were in that energy in the first place, right? It's been incredibly challenging and has felt, I think, that we've been in a holding pattern. And there's nothing more frustrating for a fire sign than being in a holding pattern. You know, there's being patient, that's one thing, but waiting to land, or even, you know, taxiing around on the fucking on the runway, getting ready to take off. has been frustrating beyond measure, and we've had to deal with it. We've just had to go with the energy because it wasn't letting us move in any particular direction. It's been at points disheartening, frustrating. It's caused us to doubt ourselves. It's caused us to doubt our ability to be able to manifest. It's caused a lot of uncomfortable feelings, and that was kind of the point, Leo. It's about finding peace in discomfort. As counterintuitive as that sounds, your role as a Leo, as I see it, is not to bask in the heat of the sun. To go, that's really nice, it's really beautiful, right? And as a sort of running alongside that, this notion that it's easy to be happy and laid back and easygoing when things are going your way. And it is. Rather, it is your job to be the sun when the sun disappears behind a cloud, or even when, you don't see it for days at a time. Living in the northeast of the UK, I can assure you that is totally a thing that happens. You can go weeks without actually seeing the sunlight. This whole process has been about teaching you to be the sun. When it's not showing up, when it's not around, when things are uncomfortable, when things are frustrating, when you feel like you've been patient and then a bit more patient and a bit more patient, and you're like, holy shit, look at this level of patience that I'm exhibiting here. This is truly astounding, and yet it's still not enough. It's got to be more patient. It was always designed to put you in a bit of a hole, Leo. Because when you realise that you are the sun, then being in a hole, subterranean 30 feet or whatever, and separated from that giant celestial ball in the sky, it doesn't matter, because you can be it down there 30 feet underground. And that's important for you, but it's also important for the people around you. You may have found yourself skirting around the edge of depression over the last few months. But I feel like you kind of skirted it and then came away from it. And instead you've been looking at what it is that stops you from being able to accept a lot of things. Now, this Page of Wands here in the reverse is entirely on point, because this way round it's about that rising excitement that we get when there is a new thing in the offing, This way round it is almost losing hope. It's like every day is the fucking same and nothing is changing, and I've looked at myself 15 times and I can't work out what it is that I'm supposed to change about myself to make sure that, that which I want outside of me is mirrored within, or originates within first. And it's been that simple fact right there, Leo, that sometimes you just need to sit there and shine like the sun, even though there's no reason for the sun to be where it is at that point. We've got the Three of Cups here. And it's a card of solidarity for me. Sometimes I see it as female solidarity. Sometimes I see it as just emotional support networks. There's an equality depicted in this card that I always enjoy. Thank you. King of Wands and the Magician. And so we have this, there's that Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck again. Your ability to be the sun is not only an emotional support to you, but to other people. And this is the skill that you have been asked to develop, right? We've got the Magician and the King of Wands here. There is Leo, right? There is the one who is capable of taking action, but sometimes the action isn't about what you can do outside of yourself. Sometimes the action isn't even what you can do inside of yourself. It's about just being and knowing that you are important, even when you just be, right? We've got this Knight of Wands cluttering all over this reading. And like I said, it could be that you've got a Sagittarius in your midst who is extremely important in where you are right now. But if this is an energetic representation, then this is about making sure that you are fully here at all times, you know? So it's like if you get, distracted in some way, Leo, your shine kind of goes elsewhere. It goes off in a different direction. The 3D things that you have been concerned about in this last 8 months actually never really needed you to shine over them at all. You know, it was about being here, being peaceful with your discomfort, being peaceful with the fact that things weren't working out quite the way that you wanted, even though the amount of intent you were throwing at it was really quite spectacular. Like, all you've really done, and this is what was supposed to happen, is drained your own energy. That intent was so hard. But there's been a shift that's been going on. Like, I know that. I absolutely know that for the collective. And it definitely happened at the point where the Lion's Gate started to open, which I think was around about the 28th of July. There was a definite difference in the way that I was feeling. But the energy kind of peaked at the 8th of August and then has been coming back down. But all sorts of things are starting to make all sorts of sense now. You know, one would assume, I always used to say I was solar powered, right? And I had an ex who used to say, like, I looked different when the sun was shining. You know, I just radiated peace and contentment, and I was just smiling when I was sat in a sunbeam. But what that means is, when I was out of the sunbeam, when the sun was not shining, I was a little bit flatter, a little less 3D, you know, a bit more of a 2D representation of myself. And so now I don't think that I am solar powered, right? Because that inevitably means that I need something else to charge me up. Now I know that I am the sun. And there's a power in that. There's a tremendous power in that. And so the Nine of Swords energy that you have been in for quite a long time was entirely necessary to bring you to this present point where you just burn because you can, because you do, because that's what you are, rather than needing to go and warm yourself against the fire of something else. Notice at every point the major arcana is appearing really deep down. You know, it's 3 cards deep in the shadow cards, or it's the second set of clarifiers underneath what you are doing. You know, what you are feeling, what you are in at the moment. And this ability to be present and this ability to burn just as you need to is opening your awareness to something else. Oh, I don't say I've had the weirdest 24 hours. It's been really odd, really, really odd. And yet everything feels like it's happening exactly as it's supposed to. There's a frisson in the air, Leo. Can you feel it? I know you can feel it. So here, in your present energy, we have the King of Cups. Scorpio energy, but it talks about emotional mastery. Now, in the work that you have done over the past 4 years, Leo, and it is for most of you, almost exactly to the week, 4 years. It was a little bit earlier than this for me. It was like around about the 6th of August that my life caved in on itself, 2017. You dealt with a lot of the obvious stuff. You dealt with a lot of the pain, a lot of the grief, a lot of the things from your past. You were kind of presented with situations where you had no choice but to deal with those things in order to keep yourself paddling. But what you have been dealing with is so nuanced and so sophisticated recently that it's elevated you up to this King of Cups. Now, there is no hurry about the King of Cups here. He's sitting on a rock there, just look like he's contemplating the world. It's like there's no need to rush, because you have made peace with the emotions that were coming up. The feeling of disempowerment. The feeling, and this is really funny because I said it to my sister only a few days ago. We were talking on Telegram. And she said, no, I said to her, will you like put some of that mega intention towards getting me a house, please? And she said, your manifestation power is usually pretty on point. And I said, I seem to have fucked up somewhere. I'm not quite sure where, but I seem to have, because it's not here. And she laughed at me. And I laughed as well. Like, there was no panic with it anymore. There was no clutch of fear. I just laughed about it. And what has happened is I've made my peace with the fact that this is going to happen when it's going to happen. Now, I'm using the example of a house as a really obvious example, but actually there are lots of other ways in which this is applying as well. I'm starting to see it right across the board. The clutch of fear, as I have experienced it in lots and lots of different examples. At points over the last 8 months, I've gone, well, it's obvious that I would be worried about that thing. You know, only a lunatic would not be concerned about this, that, and the other. It was an excuse. And it was me excusing the fact that I was feeling that fear. And we know that coming from a place of fear is not a useful thing at all, you know. And so it's coming from a place of peace now, where I can go, I know there's a plan for me. As a Leo, I know there's a plan for me. I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that I've gone really deep with looking for nuance in things. I've examined my own reactions to stuff. I've taken responsibility for what I need to take responsibility for, and I've stopped allowing myself to justify the fear that I was feeling. And now, that's emotional mastery. That's peace, right there. And the new start that I have been craving, that I have been so desperate for all year, it's going to happen when it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen right now, that's okay. That's fine. Doesn't matter. It's all right. Because my eye is on the here and now, the things that are going on in the here and now, the ways in which I can open up to the messages, right? The guidance that is sending me down a particular path, to do a particular thing, you know, whatever it is, the trust is there. And it feels to me very much like this is a Leo collective thing here. The trust is there. And maybe it's not that you're going, well, everything will be fine, I don't need to do a single thing, I'm just going to sit here and get ready to receive. It's not like that. More though, the fear and the frantic need to be doing right now is gone. Instead, we find ourselves looking at other things which might ordinarily have slipped our attention. Deepening our relationships with those people who are close to us. which is right here. And knowing that at the end of the day, this is the important thing. And you may not be in the situation that you want to be, but does that mean that you need to be gripped by fear? Or does it mean, in order for this to happen, when it's raining, you be the sun? There is a rainbow at the top of this card here. Right? And then for a rainbow to occur, you have to have water in the air and you have to have the sun shining somewhere. The water in the air has been the rain that has been falling on you, Leo, since the beginning of the year, possibly slightly earlier. Where is the sun? The sun is you. So whatever situation you find yourself in, whether it's perfect or whether it's frankly less than fucking ideal, it doesn't matter. Because in those circumstances, the rainbow will always be there. Because that's what you're bringing to the table. It feels like this is what you are starting to understand about your situation now, Leo. And I like it. And I even like the fact that it's only minor arcana that's appearing on these top 2 layers of cards here. Because it's all about the way that you are choosing to see situations. It's about the perspective that you are bringing. It's about your embodiment of the sun. Now, when we move into September, we've got the 2 of Swords in reverse, and I love this for you. I'd have been utterly wounded if it had turned up in the upright, but it hasn't. It's turned up in the reverse. So when it's in the upright, it talks about decisions needing to be made, but often no idea of which is the correct course of action, right? We've got 2 swords, and they're usually depicted in the hands of a woman who has her hands crossed over her chest. And the idea is that these options that are open to her are, essentially identical. There's nothing noticeably different between either of those swords. But importantly, she is blindfolded, and she does have her back to the moon, which is her intuition, and she has her back to her emotions. And so for me, it then comes to speak about the way that we are willingly and willfully blind to a particular situation, right? Because, frankly, the woman depicted in the card is not using all of the resources at her disposal to make her decision. Her intuition is right there. Her emotions are right there. She's even lost the use of her eyes. She's done that on purpose. She's purposely turned away from those. And so I often think that in that case, it's because the woman knows that if she consulted those things, there is a very clear route open to her, and for whatever reason she doesn't want to take that. And you can also see it as ignoring, the red flags in a situation. It's almost like a willful ignorance. In fact, I'm just like, no, can't see that. It's not there. It's not happening. And so it's being stuck in a kind of internal stasis, because all the cards number 2 speak to me very deeply about the internal space. And so stasis is never good. Not there. You don't want it there. You want the energy to be free flowing. The fact that it's come out in the reverse says the decision is made. Like, you know what you have to do. And this is important, Leo, because there have been lots of points over the last 8 months where you thought you knew what you had to do, only to come up against a brick wall. And it was incredibly frustrating. You're just like, what the fuck? All right, well, no, that's fine. I'm not going to be put off by that. I'll just adapt and I'll go this way. And every single time, there's just brick walls. This time feels different, Leo. This feels really, really different, because you're not coming from a place of assuming that the options that are open to you are only these 2 swords. You're also plugging into something deeper. So the moon is there, at the top of the card. And if you can see it, it's actually just a sliver of a moon. I don't say, oh, gosh, you're just picking it up, right? I mean, even when you look at this card in and of itself, like, the woman is removed from this. She's not there anymore. The moon in reverse talks about things being revealed. But there's no sense of having it back to the water here either. There's no blindfold covering somebody's eyes. It's fallen off, in fact. And here we are with decisions that need to be made and all of the information that is pertinent being revealed to you at this point and you knowing what to do with it. Leo. This fucking Knight of Wands again. Here he is. And whether or not this is Sagittarius, or whether this is your ability to be able to spot an opportunity and understand exactly what it means, what the consequences of that are, it'll be different for each of you. I'll pull a couple of cards for this. Tell me about the Knight of Wands, please. Goodness, oh goodness, fucking hell, right. Told you I felt the tower stalking me for the last 2 days, something like that. Like something is brewing, something is coming, Leo, and it's big. It's really, really big. But you needed to be in this position of being comfortable with your own discomfort, accepting the discomfort and fucking shining anyway before this tower would start hovering around. It's a weird analogy, I know, but like sometimes the tower can feel a little oppressive, and it kind of does and it kind of doesn't. Like it's present enough there that you can feel it, and you're like, well, is this another false avenue of travel, right? Am I going to smack up against a brick wall? I refuse to get too excited about this because I've been here before already. So I'm going to maintain a level of stoicism about it. I'm just going to keep shining like the sun, and then we will see what happens. And clarifying these cards here, this Knight of Wands and this Six of Pentacles, which is interesting because there's a kind of stop-go energy about these two cards together, but it feels more like the work that you have done in balancing yourself out is the thing that allows travel, if necessary, movement, if necessary. But if not, then the Knight of Wands is going to hang around here and it's going to be cool and we're just going to have fun and hang out and all that sort of thing, right? It's about being very, very present at this point. We've got the King of Pentacles with the Hanged Man. And we've got the Tower and the Empress. This is really powerful, Leo. Really, really powerful. This King of Pentacles speaks as he does of duty and responsibility and a certain level of material accomplishment, right? But for him, it's more about taking care of those people that he feels responsible for, And the King of Pentacles very much deals with that notion of the home, There's something very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Considered and planned. There are no shortcuts with the King of Pentacles at all. But because he's a Taurus card, he does speak to community. He speaks to the home and the importance of the home, the importance of stability and structure. And then this Hanged Man, this Piscean energy, which is almost by definition unstructured. But on the precipice of something really quite dramatic being revealed to you, maybe by yourself. It's difficult to know. In this particular depiction of the Hanged Man, and I'm using the Night Sun Tarot here, what we have is a man with his head in a cage. Obviously he's suspended upside down as we would usually expect to see him, but his head is in a cage. Notice, in his hand he has the key. And this is important. Because the Hangman talks about no movement, right? None at all. It's the most passive card in the deck. He's about the wisdom that comes when we do not move. maybe when we cannot move. Where we resisted and struggled for the last 8 months, it was because we were trying to engage that movement. Right? We were trying to do something other than stand still, because frankly, standing still was a threat in some way or another, right? In whichever way that it applies to you. I know I've heard from enough Leos that they're all, certainly the ones that have been in contact with me have been like, yeah, I'm looking for a house as well. I can't find anything. I don't know what's going on. But it will be different for each of you. Some of you won't be even slightly house related. It'll be to do with something else. Take it as it resonates to you. We struggled against that. And what's happened here with this, and with this, and this Knight of Wands energy, is that we stopped struggling. We accepted, we, if you will, submitted to the situation, and we found our peace within that submission. And it seems to me that we have changed our perspective so much that we're unlocking something really quite big, Leo. Because we've got the Tower and we've got the Empress. Now, when I did a reading for myself yesterday morning, because I was just like, excuse me, what the fuck? It was yesterday afternoon. The Tower and the High Priestess came out for me, and I was just like, oh God. And that was relevant in and of itself, because the High Priestess was kind of following me around yesterday. Just everywhere. And I was like, what is this? I'm about to have some big spiritual awakening that's just going to kick me in the teeth, just as I feel like I'm kind of getting myself sorted again. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't. It actually feels like it is full of abundance. It is full of the things that you have been hankering for all this time. And at the very point where you stop, where you concentrate instead on just being the sun. Hello, here I am. I'm the sun. Saw a meme on Instagram this morning, and it said, be the reason why lights start flickering when you walk into a room. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel that. I feel that really hard. Something big is coming for you, Leo. It's really, really big. And although the Tower can often feel quite uncomfortable, I'm not sure that it will in this case. Not really. It's the sudden movement that comes when you've given up waiting for the movement. And it's filled with things that it feels to me at any point prior to now might have spooked you. I think that's the best way to put how I'm feeling here. Like, you might have got spooked by just how good this is and gone, I don't really trust this now. I'll just keep looking over here. It's fine. You know, in this Empress card, I noticed that we've got a cage on the floor, and it is empty. It's down by her feet. It's off the head of the Hanged Man. Restriction, mental restriction, and it's just open to the energy that is flowing in for you right now, because what you've been doing is clearing on a really deep level. Now, you know, I got up this morning and I was just like, I am different. What the fuck? This is interesting. You know, this is not how I've been waking up for the last few months. I've just been fucked, frankly, for months and months and months. This morning I got up and I was not. This morning I got up and I was like, oh, I feel like I've actually had a good night's sleep. What's that about? That's weird. And then the cat started meowing, and usually that sends me into an absolute, frenzy because of the noise. Because they've got that particular pitch that just rattles your skull, you know. And I was just like, yeah, shut up, here's some food. And they did. Outside has been noisy as ever. I don't care. Doesn't seem to bother me quite so much today as it has done every single day for 8 months. There's a space being cleared. I did a reading for myself last week, and my cards literally told me to put a bag on my head if I didn't like it. And if you've ever read cards for yourself and you've had your cards roast you, I'm sure there's a particular expression that all tarot readers have on their face, like, excuse me, that was a bit rude, you know, kind of thing. And it was literally that. If you don't like it, put a fucking bag on your head. And I went, oh, well, okay then. The point was, do something about it for yourself. You can't change the noise that is happening around outside. So what? Maybe go and find some earplugs, something like that. Maybe put something on to drown out the noise, something that you enjoy listening to. Why are you letting it get you so raj? And I watched a really interesting video yesterday while all the weird things were sort of happening in the afternoon. And it was by Radiant Reality. I've spoken that, you know, I think he's brilliant on the channel before. But Leos, I'm actually going to put the video in, I think, I'll put it in, I'll link it in the description box or in the top of the comments. Because I swear to God, it was like a light going on in my head. There were bits of it that weren't for me at all, but there were some very specific notions. And he was talking about an experiment that he'd seen a post on Instagram about rats. And I think it was in the 60s. And they'd put a rat in the water to see how long it would paddle. You know? And the rat got to 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes it started to sink, and they kind of fished it out and they put it on the side and they let it recover a little bit and dry out. And then they put it back in to see how, when it was exhausted, how long it would manage in the water. And apparently this experiment was replicated a number of times. And when Raf was talking about this, I was like, oh, probably 30 seconds, something like that. It was 60 hours. And what? And the reason that he was talking about it was because he was like, you may think that, you know, over the course of your life, it is shown that you got this 15 minutes endurance, right? And you can do it, but it's hard, and then you get some recovery time or whatever. He said, but you've got reserves of energy that you aren't even aware of, that you haven't even tapped into yet. And all of these things are sort of coming together to me. And I'm like, oh. I actually messaged him on Instagram and just went, thank you so much. I needed to hear that right now. And so do you, Leo. Like I said, I'll link it below so that you can watch it for yourself. But he was also talking about collapsing timelines, and that really struck deep with me too. I've been talking a lot recently about rewriting your narrative, rewriting your history, because it will inevitably end up with you seeing your present very, very differently if you change the perspective that you hold on your past. But he put it really succinctly. It's literally collapsing timelines and changing the way that you would react to a situation here and now. Well, then, if you knew then what you know now. There are some really good things coming in, Leo, and September. September is the month where everything changes. Yeah, I'm just looking at the bottoms of the decks here. Both of them have got the Five of Swords at the bottom. There was something about the way that you have been thinking about this situation that was wrong, and it was so deeply rooted. Like I said, it was this looking for the sun. You've been looking for the sun anywhere other than here. Just being, well, I'm the fucking sun. Everything will happen in good time. It'll happen when it happens. It's fine. Whatever, you know? It's losing that kind of mentality and hitting that truth there. Judgment and the Fool. The new start is coming. In fact, it's so close, it's almost on top of you now, Leo. And it feels like it's an order of magnitude bigger than you even dared hope for. You know? It feels at the point where it hits, it's so stunning that you would have instantly rejected it at a point previous to this. But now you're in this new headspace. Things are different. And this is the best possible tower that could happen for you. Right, Leo, I'm going to go away. I'm going to go over to Vimeo and pull this apart over there. We're going to look at September specifically, because I feel like we've put into context everything that you've been experiencing over the last 8 months. And I'm comfortable with that. So I want to look at details for September instead. So if you want to come and join me over there, that is cool. Link is in the description box. It'll be the first one. The second one's to the 6-month overviews. If not, then that's all fine too. Be the sun, Leo. Be the sun. Right. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I will see you soon.